Alrighty, welcome everybody to the third episode of Christian Sports Podcast here. I hope everybody enjoyed their New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, especially with some good football. The Miami game on New Year's Eve and yesterday the Oregon Indiana game weren't the best games, but they crushed them. But the Ole Miss game was the game of the playoffs so far. That game was awesome. Um, Today I think I'm just gonna talk about the results of the college football playoff and see see how we did, and also talk about some NFL games that are intriguing tomorrow. Not too many intriguing, but it's Week 18. A lot of people are either resting, a lot of teams are eliminated, but there's some important games. Bucs, Panthers, and Seahawks, 49ers, and Steelers, Ravens. But let's just jump right into it and start with the Miami 24 and then Ohio State 14. That was probably the most shocking result of the playoffs so far. I thought, if you listen to my last episode, I was very high on Ohio State. I thought their defense was awesome. They have great weapons, but looking back at it, I should have been definitely skeptical about the quarterback. He didn't have a good game at all. Like saying, he just didn't seem like the moment was too big for him a little bit. His interceptions were terrible, especially the one on the screen pass. Like, that guy was coming from a mile away. I don't know how Sayin didn't see him. But, he's still a young kid. Maybe he'll grow a little bit. I think a lot of that game, I think the storyline of that game was Miami's defensive line. They were all over the place. All over the place. Ruben and then, not Ruben, excuse me. Ruben Bain and, what was the other guy's name? I don't know. The Canadian guy. He had a couple sacks in the game. His name is escaping me, but I think Bain was the 19th ranked prospect going into this game, and the other guy I was talking about was 21st, and they were just all over the place. And their secondary, who supposedly they spent big money on, and Miami spent a ton of money on defense. I think Cristobal, the coach there, was kind of sick and tired of having these soft, weak defenses, especially in the ACC, that I think they just spent all their money on, their defense, really. They have good weapons on offense. Their running back's good, and Tony's good, the receiver, who kind of does a little bit of everything. But, we all know how Carson Beck is. He's not the best quarterback in the world. He didn't play bad. He definitely played better than I thought he would. But, he still only had 138 yards, I think it was. And but he didn't put him in bad situations like he did in Texas Tech, the Texas A&M game, and bad situations like he did earlier in the year, especially. They started off so hot, and then all of a sudden Carson Beck threw the 4 interceptions against Louisville on that Friday night game. But, yeah, that defense is good enough, I think, to probably win a national championship, even though that would be very surprising to everybody, because, I thought going in they weren't that good. I don't think I wouldn't say they shouldn't have been in there, but they were the last team in for a reason, I think that, depending on their play call on offense, they're a good team. Like, I thought their play call on the other night was great, especially on that pass where they just had the 7 linemen in, and everybody was like, oh, they're running the ball, and then the running back just went out left in the flat, and then Beck just hit him for the touchdown, and I thought that was a great play call. I don't think anybody really saw it coming. I thought, if anything, like a lineman would slip out and they would pass it, but I never really thought the running back would just go oop, and it was kind of like a screen pass, really, like a 3-yard screen pass. It was a cool play. I've never really seen anything like that before. But yeah, and I think also Cristobal spending money on the old Minnesota defense coordinator that he brought over to Miami. Yeah, he's been such a difference maker too. Of course their players are good, but sometimes you need a coach to kind of help them out there on defense as a defensive coordinator. But but yeah, that was the most shocking game. I thought Ohio State, even when they lost Indiana, I was like, okay, Indiana's a really good team. I still thought they had a very good chance of winning it all, if not be the favorite. But yeah, I think Ohio State they can't run the ball really that well. Bo Jackson's a good running back. I want to say great. He's no Travion Henderson or Quinshon Junkins or anything like that. And also saying, like, he can't really run. He's like small, and Will Howard brought this like physical runner to the table too. Like, I thought Will Howard was a great underrated quarterback, to be honest with you. I'm surprised he didn't get drafted higher. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, I know Jeremiah Smith before the game was talking about how he almost went to Miami, and then after the game he was talking to Miami a bunch and acting like, if you didn't know the result of the game, it would have seemed like Ohio State won by the way Jeremiah Smith was yucking it up with the Miami players after the game. But maybe I don't know. Maybe college football now, all college sports. Maybe Miami tries to poach him from Ohio State. But that's a long shot. I doubt that ever happens. But it was just kind of funny to see. But I thought that it'll be interesting to see like where these guys get drafted on the defensive line too, especially like the Chiefs are going to have a high pick. Like these teams that could contend next year, maybe like the Bengals and the Ravens, depending on if they win or not, and teams like that. But those guys are just those guys were all over the place, and I think the right side of Ohio State's line wasn't the best, and they're very inexperienced, or they just stood no chance. And some was saying Stacks like he like. Just either throw it away or just get down. Like he kept running backwards. I think he had like minus 42 yards on just sacks. Like that's killer. You can't have that. That's terrible. That's, like I said, that's killer. But he's a young quarterback. Maybe he'll get better. I kind of went in this game like he's a good player, good not great, but. I don't know. I think next year it'll be interesting to see how Ryan Day handles this, because you remember when they had Kyle McCord, they blamed everything on Kyle McCord and they kicked him out. I don't think Ohio State would do that to Sayin just because he was a Heisman candidate finalist, I think, or maybe he was in the top 5 or something like that. But, they didn't play anybody good all year. They didn't play anybody. They played Michigan and they were ranked at the time and stuff like that, but their quarterback can't throw. They didn't let him throw. I think he has a good arm and stuff like that, but Michigan didn't let him throw. But... I think they only let up eight points a game. Their defense is good. If Sayin didn't throw that pick 6, the game would be, I think, a little bit different and closer. Yes, they would still be They would still have 3 more points. Right now, it would be 17-14 at the end of the day. But who knows? Maybe Ohio State scores on that drive, or that he threw the pick 6 or something like that. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens to Sayin. I think I know in the beginning of the year, before the season started, there was a quarterback competition. I don't think you could bench the guy really. He's good. I don't know if, is your backup better? I know you're Ohio State, but now with the transfer portal and NIL, I don't think backups are as good as they used to be. But yeah, I think that the storyline of the game was definitely Miami's up front defensive line. Their offensive line is also great too. I didn't talk about that. Their offensive line is a bunch of animals. So there'll be a couple of guys drafted on their offensive line, and their running back was, he had the fumble loss, but it seemed like he was getting in the groove a little bit. He only had 90 yards at the end of the day, but that's still a lot of yards. And they had the other running back that was from North Dakota State that was supposed to be like a big-time running back transfer, but he doesn't really play that much just because the starting running back's better. I forget his name. But, yeah, that money, that game was also about the money that, yes, Ohio State spends a lot of money, but Miami they spent money at the right spots. Their defensive backs, they spent money on, that Scott guy's really good. And Cristobal finally won, a big game for him. He's been a little bit of a choker, and, he's lost these terrible games in terrible fashion, especially when they had Cam Ward, too. When they had Cam Ward last year, there was just no defense, and I think this year they're like, okay, we'll spend money on a quarterback, but we're gonna really focus on the defense, which is kind of like an NFL feel to it a little bit. But, yeah, I'm happy for Miami. I would be surprised if they won it all. I'm still surprised that they won this game. It'll be interesting to see how they play against Ole Miss. But yeah, that was very shocking. I couldn't believe that. Even when Miami was up 14-0, I thought that Ohio State would still come back, just because Jeremiah Smith had a great game, especially some of those catches. And that guy is just a beast. He's big, fast, strong. he can do everything, and you want that body type in a receiver. I mean, he's just so big and so fast. But reminds me of AJ Brown a little bit. But yeah, that was definitely the most shocking result of the playoffs so far. And to the next game, Oregon won 26-0 against Texas Tech. I think the story in that game was, you know, Texas Tech spending all their money on defense, which their defense is great and awesome. They're going to have a bunch of guys that are drafted up there. And some of the, like that one play where the defensive lineman jumped in the air and hit it, that guy was like so far in the air. It was crazy. But I think that Texas Tech's quarterback definitely held them back. It was 6-0 at half, and then it was 13-0 going into the fourth quarter. And then he threw that awful, terrible pick in the end zone. But I wouldn't be surprised if Texas Tech has so much money in NIL, and it's the Texas oil money, and they just have so much money. I bet they're gonna go spend on defense again, and then they're gonna go buy quarterback this time. If it's, Sam Levitt, Brandon Sorsby, or Dylan Raiola, which would be crazy because he's trying to be Mahomes, but someone like that. I bet they try to buy a big time quarterback because they had the roster. I like their receivers too. I like their running back, and we'll see what happens next year with their roster on offense too. But that it was just about the quarterback. Yes, the quarterback was 80. He said he was 85%. He was playing on a broken leg, which is crazy. But and I like the coach there too, and they have the money to be a great team. And it's crazy to see that how much NIL has changed it. Like Texas Tech a couple years ago, they were terrible. Even when they had Mahomes, they're terrible. And now that they have money, it's a big time school that is they were number 4 ranked, which is crazy. I mean, who would have said at the beginning of the year, Texas Tech's gonna be the 4th ranked team? No one would have thought that. But yeah, I think it'll be great if they get a quarterback. It'd be very fun to watch. I'm a fan of them. I feel bad for the linebacker Rodriguez. That was his last game ever. He was great. If it wasn't all about the quarterback, he probably could have been a Heisman candidate in the top 10-ish. I don't think he would have won it or anything like that. Yes, he's a linebacker at the end of the day. But, yeah, he was a fun player, and he played a little offense sometimes, throw a touchdown or catch a touchdown. He was fun. But that quarterback I know I just said it, but he held him back. It would be great to see them have a quarterback. And I thought, speaking about quarterbacks, I thought Dante Moore had I won't say bad game, but it was kind of a weird game. He was it seemed like he was kind of trying to prove himself a little bit, even though you proved yourself already, dude. I think he should come back to school, but so he doesn't have to get drafted to the Jets or something. And I think a lot of people around his circle I've heard that want him to go back to school, but some of these players just want to get to the league. If I was him, I would stay. But Oregon's defense is also. We're talking about Texas Tech's defense as being really good. Oregon's defense is also really, really good. And like I said last episode, this is even supposed to be Oregon's year. Next year is supposed to be their year with all their. They got freshmen playing right now. They're having impact on the game, and it's just kind of crazy that this is not their year and they're this good. We'll see how good they are next year. Plus, you'll get more transfers, and if more comes back, they'll be even better than they're supposed to be. But I thought he just needed to settle down a little bit. It was 6-0 at halftime. I know Texas Tech has really good defense and all, and I was just really gassing them up. But you're Dante Moore. Next year, you're going to be the number 1 pick at quarterbacks if you stay in college. I truly believe that if you stay in college, you will be the number 1 pick next year. Unless Arch Manning takes this crazy step, even though he's been looking better and better every game he's played since the beginning of the year. But I thought that, and also their running backs are great, their receivers are great, they're all young. That tight end is unbelievable. He'll maybe be a 1st-round pick. He's great. And their defense is just a bunch of monsters, really. That one guy that he's the weird last name. I think it's a Hawaiian last name. He had 7.5 sacks and a bunch of tackles for losses this year. That's really good in college. And they always have a big physical defensive line. And Lanning is a great coach. But the only thing I would say about Lanning is I hate teams that go for it every fourth down. Like he went for it every fourth down. And I'm like, dude, like just feel the game out. Your defense is playing great. You can't. The Texas Tech can't do anything on you right now. Just play it out. See what happens. And then I mean, it ended up not hurting him at the end of the day because Texas Tech scored 0 points and they blew them out. But that game was all about defenses, I think. Even though, yes, Oregon scored 26 points, but the story of that game was both the defenses and how bad Texas Tech's quarterback was, I think. I mean, yes, he wasn't healthy. He played on breaking leg, like I said, but, that's a learning experience for Texas Tech for sure to make sure they spend more money on a quarterback. But yeah, I mean, the next game is Indiana 38 and Alabama 3. It's still pretty crazy saying that out loud. Indiana, scores 38 points and Alabama only scores 3. Yes, if you don't look at the rosters and stuff like that, like Indiana's even in the college football playoff. That's crazy. But you would think it would be the other way around. Bama winning 38-3. But I mean, Mendoza was just as advertised. He was great, especially that throw to the Becker, the receiver that was down the field. That was an awesome play, and their running game was great. Their offensive line is kind of a weapon. How good they are! They're just so big, and especially that left tackle and the center, they're so big, and they just push guys around. Especially Alabama. I mean, they were getting a little bit of pressure in the first half. I felt like, but I mean, they kind of neutralized it. But and also Alabama's defense is just not good. They're just not good. The defensive line's all right. They have a lot of players that they spent money on that just haven't been very good. I heard Herb Street talking about how they've had some players that are 5 stars when they came in or transferred in. They just haven't performed very well. And Ty Simpson, I mean, when I watch him play, he just seems small. Like, he just seems so small, like, too small. Like, I mean, that hit, he was already playing with a hurt elbow, and then that hit that he fumbled on, he, broke his ribs on. And it just does, I remember at the beginning of the year, everybody's talking about this guy, he's right up there with Mendoza at the very beginning of the year when they turned it around, they beat Georgia and stuff like that. And it was like, guys, he's tiny. What are we doing, Zach Wilson again? No, he's tiny. He's not good enough either. And Alabama can't run the ball at all. They just can't. They struggle a lot with running the ball. Their offensive line, that Proctor guy, the left tackle, is pretty good, but you usually expect them to have a good offensive line and be all right. But my Indiana's defense was just all over the place. They were tackling great. They were great tacklers. Their linebackers are great. Their defensive line is great. All 3 levels are great. Then they're missing their best pass rusher because he had that freak accident where he was high-fiving a guy in the fans and broke high-fiving a fan in the stands and broke his leg. But yeah, I mean, that game was all about Mendoza, really. I mean, yes, it was 38-3, but I think Indiana's just. This might be their year. I don't think it would be great. I like Cignetti. I know a lot of people don't like him, and he's kind of a prick and all this stuff, but I like Cignetti. He's kind of funny. He's a little odd. He's got that big ego, But when he said "Google me" in that interview a couple years ago, I mean, he's right. He's won everywhere he's been, and he's had impact everywhere he's been. But yeah, I think Indiana. It'll be interesting to see how they play against Oregon, because I think one of those 2 teams are great. Whoever wins that game, I believe, is going to win the national championship, especially if it's Indiana. But Oregon, it'll be close if they make it there. But Indiana it's unbelievable. How they get good. They spent money. They really like Kurt Cignetti, obviously, and they spend all this money on this roster, so it's not it's just a little fluke where they have all these guys that they took flyers on. No, they spent money on this team. They're better than last year. Their receivers are NFL level good. Their quarterback's obviously NFL level good. Their defense, they got guys on the defensive line and stuff like that are NFL good. They're not just a bunch of bad news bears, but it's crazy. And the next game I want to talk about was Ole Miss 39 and Georgia 34. The story of that game was the Ole Miss quarterback, Trinidad Shameless. That guy is, wow. Like the first game they played, and Georgia came back and won. Georgia didn't punt once. That's how bad Ole Miss defense was. But Trinidad in that game just collapsed. Like he was having a great first 3 quarters. Had this lead, and Trinidad just, I think it was, he went 0 for like 10 or something in the fourth quarter. Like that's terrible. That's a big choking job. But this game, oh my god, that one possession where he had all those crazy plays where he's about to get sacked and he's scrambling and stuff like that, and he just flips it out there. Those were like, I was watching that and I was like, oh my god, like you have to win this game because of this performance now, or else it just goes right down the drain. But I'm super happy for Ole Miss because Lane Kiffin leaves them. They have an interim coach. I think that Lane looks like a big loser right now, to be honest with you. I think that he, if he stayed, I think they probably still win these games. The results still stay the same. But he looks like a big loser right now, especially leaving, and now they're in the Final Four. Like, I think LSU next year has to be in the Final Four now. They don't have, one Brian Kelly year. I think Lane Kiffin's already on the hot seat. Those fans down there, they want to win. They spend a lot of money. It's a top 3 job in America. But I think Ole Miss is putting a lot of pressure on Lane now, to be honest, which is great. Good to see. I like Lane Kiffin, but, we all know Lane Kiffin. He's just going to find the next job. He's not really going to stay. But, and also Ole Miss's defensive line they're all freaking huge. That Harris guy was 6'8", 360 or something, 330, I don't know, something like that. And those Eccles and Franklin, I mean, those guys were all studs. Their linebacker, Daughtery, he's good. Their tackling was, like, terrible, though. I mean, they got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, surprisingly, against that good Georgia offensive line. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of the calls in the game, like I talked about this last podcast, I hate when games are called at the end of the game when there's a bunch of flags. Like, first of all, the refs missed a clear, obvious face mask on Georgia in the fourth quarter when they were trying to score. Like, most obvious thing ever. The guy's head got totally twisted around. And then later in the game in the fourth quarter, you saw the penalty where the offensive guy, I mean, the offensive guy was like grabbing the face mask of the Ole Miss defender, and Ole Miss player was kind of fighting back, and they were fighting each other, and then you throw a flag and call it on Ole Miss. Like, you can't call a flag there. They're hand fighting. If anything, you call it on the offense because the defense's face mask is being pulled. I don't understand that. Excuse me. And then the flag at the end of the game where he held them. He clearly held them, and I think they stopped the touchdown there, which actually really helped him. But, I mean, we'll see what happens to Ole Miss's defense. I don't think they're very good, but they did get a lot of key stops. That fourth down sack they had was great. They got a lot of stops, even though Georgia scored 34 points. But 7 was given to him on the fumble return for a touchdown by Lacey. But, Ole Miss's offense, you thought last year was their year, the way they spent money and stuff like that. This year, they spent just as much money, and their receivers are good. They have 3 good receivers. Their tight end's good, even though he made that stupid boneheaded play. Like, just run out of bounds, dude. Like, what are you doing? And then you see Joe Judge freaking out on the sideline, which, like I said the last podcast, I can't really take a team that has Joe Judge on their sideline seriously, and I was looking at Joe Judge like, you loser. But their kicker was also insane. He hit a 56-yarder, 55-yarder. It was so good, so good. That guy's going to be an NFL kicker for sure. That guy's kind of a weapon. But and at halftime, they would have had 3 more points. The guys definitely would have made it, I think. But, some of the, Charlie Weiss Jr., the son of the old Patriots coordinator. But Charlie Weiss Jr., his play calling wasn't my favorite. Like outside run, inside run, outside run, inside run. It was kind of like you kind of knew what was coming, but then Chambliss just kind of, I felt like, put the team on his back. Like that, some of those plays he made with in the fourth quarter to get the lead at the end of the game were crazy, especially the one that sealed the deal to Stripling, I think his name was, the receiver. but he just like lofted it over the defense, and I was like, oh, that's an NFL pass right there. I know this guy coming into the game, I didn't really think he's an NFL quarterback, but after that, I'm like, oh my god, this guy should be drafted. I would probably say it's late second day, early third day pick, nothing crazy, but he should definitely be a backup in the league. I don't know about starter because he's small, but maybe a backup. Those throws are amazing. I mean, they're playing Miami next round, Ole Miss, and that's like very interesting to see because I mean Ole Miss has a good offensive line, not great, and Lacey's a good runner. I mean he's kind of like a fumbling issue, especially with that shoulder being hurt. So it's like his pressure's not too good on the ball, but yeah, I mean I want to take Ole Miss in that game, but I think Miami's defense is just too good right now. Like, and I don't know. Ole Miss's defense, I don't trust yet. Their defensive line is very good, very, very good, very huge. They're big. They just keep batting down a bunch of passes left and right. But I think Gunnar Stockton deserves a lot of respect, even though they lost. I mean, he was taking shot after shot after shot, and he just stuck in there. I feel like they made every big play they needed, except at the end of the game when they got stuffed on the third and goal. But and that Branch guy, the Zachariah Branch, I mean, that guy's always, I feel like he's always open. It reminds me a little bit of like a Xavier Worthy type player. But, I mean, I felt like every big play they needed, just give it to him, and he was there. And that running back Frazier, before he got hurt, he was just carving him apart. I thought the run game for Georgia yesterday was great. I'm still like kind of shocked they lost. Like that quarterback Chambers just put him on their back. But like Stockton, last year coming in and he got hurt in that one game against Texas Notre Dame. I don't know, but. Last year I was like, oh, maybe there's something here. There's something beginning of the year, and I was like, I don't know. And then he played that Tennessee game, and I was like, whoa, this guy might be a dude. And he turned out to be a great quarterback. He runs a little too more than I thought, like more than I want to. I don't love running quarterbacks. I like running quarterbacks, but not when they run all the time. But yeah, I think that guy was a stud. And also, we have to get to this. The end of the game when they stopped the game 2 different times. Because there's 1 second on the clock, just end the game, end it. I know the ref for ESPN at the end of the game was like, what happens if a crazy play happens and you never get to see it because they stopped the game? It's like, well, what are the chances of that happening? Yes, I know that you're kind of half joking when you say that, but of course these refs, the refs always have to make it about them and always have to be involved and stuff like that. And you saw the coach on Ole Miss like freaking out about it. Which I never talked to the Ole Miss coach. I like that guy a lot. He seems like a great defensive coordinator. I mean, yes, their defense is not the best, but I don't know how much you can do with them not being able to tackle that very, very well. I think Ole Miss is a terrible tackling team. They got lucky, but the refs at the end of the game had to stop it because they had the safety, and then they don't take the second off the clock, even though I thought they probably should have. And then they do the onside kick, and there's another second on. And then, mind you, Ole Miss comes on the field the first time and starts celebrating. They send them back. And the stages on the stadium stuff, the stages on the field and stuff like that to celebrate. So they have to push everything back, push all the players back on both sidelines, stuff like that. Then the onside kick happens. Everybody comes back out and celebrates. Stage on the field, everything like that again. The ref tells everybody to go back, and then Ole Miss starts screaming at the refs, of course, and, I think they just deserve it. The refs were just totally getting in the way and being total tool bags. But, and then finally they do the play where they're laddering it left and right. Never mind, even though when they were laddering it, there was a penalty on Georgia, of course, even though, of course, the game ended because, Georgia couldn't go forward. They just kept going back and back and back and back and back, and then at that point they didn't care, which they should have just not cared the first time. But yeah, the story of that game was Chambliss, the quarterback on Ole Miss, like that guy was making throw after throw after throw, and they weren't easy throws. They were like hard NFL throws And especially the one where he was rolling left and a bunch of guys chasing him. He was doing like circles and stuff like that, and just threw it to Lacey on the sideline. That was a unbelievable play. That was a great play. But yeah, I mean, next round should be fun. Oregon, Indiana, and Ole Miss and Miami. It's kind of crazy. All these bye teams are losing. I think the NCAA will have to look at that a little bit because I don't know what they can do, but last 2 years all the bye teams have lost except Indiana, which is crazy. And but yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the next round, especially the Ole Miss game. Last night I found myself not gonna lie, I found myself rooting for Ole Miss. I didn't really care who won the game. I've always kind of followed Ole Miss when they had Dart and I used to like their defense line when they had Walter Nolan and Pegasus and Pegues, and they had Trey Amos last year. But yeah, so I kind of always like been interested in him. I wouldn't say a fan, but then last night I was watching him and I was like, found myself rooting for Ole Miss. That was a great game. That was fun. I was kind of looking for a good game because Indiana and Oregon games are terrible. They're awful, and that was a great close to that round of the playoffs and the quarterfinals, and I'm happy. It wasn't a blowout. I thought there was a chance Georgia was going to blow them out, and especially in that second quarter and at half when they didn't score. But yeah, that was fun. That was good. That was great. And now let's talk a little NFL. First game I wanted to talk about is tomorrow's game the early game tomorrow, which is Panthers and Bucs. I think the Bucs are going to win this game, but every time I write off the Panthers, they win a game. All year I've been saying, they're not that good. They're not that good. The defense is not good. Their offense is not good. So how are they winning these games? I just don't get it. I don't. But the Panthers might get in even if they lose. If the Saints, if Atlanta beats the Saints, because Atlanta has the tiebreaker over the Bucs. So if the Bucs lose, they'll drop to third place, and Atlanta will go up to second place. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Everybody's talking about this game like whoever wins this game is in, and no one has really talked about how the Saints must beat the Falcons for the Bucs to get in. But it's kind of crazy how far the Bucs have fallen since the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, we're watching them, we're like, oh my god, like these guys, like Baker Mayfield MVP. The receivers Abuka's having a great year, Bucky Irving, and then they get all these injuries. Abuka got hurt, like dinged up a little bit with his hamstring. Bucky Irving got hurt for a really long time. Mike Evans got hurt. Chris Godwin in and out of the lineup. Their defense hurt. Jamal Dean hurt. They had Canty hurt. They just had. They reminded me a little bit of the 49ers. They just every week they had someone dropping. And then I think Mayfield's probably not playing healthy. I think that's why he's playing so bad. In that Rams game, he got hurt on Sunday night when they got absolutely destroyed, and he hurt his shoulder. I feel like Mayfield's always fighting with a shoulder injury, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the Bucs will win, but they still might not get in if the Saints lose to Atlanta, which is crazy. But I think they got to go to a format in the NFL where each conference, just the top 7 teams get in instead of the division winners get home field advantage in the first round. Like, are people really going to pick the Bucs or the Panthers to win in the first round? No, they might be playing the Rams. The Rams will kill both of them. I know the Rams already beat the Panthers, but I mean the Rams already lost to the Panthers. But there's no way that any of these teams are doing anything. I mean, maybe the Bucs can pull out something out of their butt because they have more talent than Carolina. But like last week, Bryce Young throws for 54 yards. 54 yards. And he might be a playoff quarterback. No, you can't let that happen. You can't. But I don't know. It's frustrating to me that you can't just do 1 through 7. I know, I don't mind the format now. I think it should change, but I don't know. Especially for the game we're talking about later, Steelers and Ravens. Like, did those teams deserve to get in? I don't know. Probably not. I don't know who else is better in the NFC or AFC than the Panthers, Bucs, Steelers, or Ravens, but I don't think they deserve to be the 4 seed. If they do deserve to get in, they should be the number 7 seed. Like max, they shouldn't be any higher than the 7 seed. But you know, it'd be interesting to see if Carolina. Like, I feel like whenever Carolina Bucs play, it's always like a weird, crazy little game at the end. Especially last year, I think the Bucs needed to beat Carolina to get in as well, and I think they did beat them. Well, obviously they got in and lost against Jane Daniels and the Commanders, but yeah, I mean, like last week, the Bucs lost to Miami with Quinn Ewers as their quarterback. Miami, that yes, they're playing better. Yes, their offense is playing good, and their defense is not playing as bad as they were at the beginning of the year, but it's still Miami. They still have that clown as a coach. You know, you can't lose to that. And I think if they don't make the playoffs, I know the Bucs already said that they're not going to fire Todd Bowles, but he's not a good coach. Let's be real, guys. He's been coach for a really long time. He's a great, very good defense coordinator, but head coach, no. And it's okay to be a coordinator. Look at Josh McDaniels. I think Mike McDaniels, when he gets fired eventually by Miami, he'll be a good coordinator. But you know, I kind of wish this isn't the game we have to watch. That means so much. I wish it was like better teams or something like that. But you know, I just want to be honest with you, I want the Bucs to get in because they have a more chance to beat somebody in the playoffs than the Panthers. The Panthers, they're just not good. I'm sorry, they're just not good. The Bucs really aren't that good either, but they have more talent. They have more a possibility to upset somebody than the Panthers. I wouldn't say that much bigger or that great of a possibility, but you know, it's all about entertainment at the end of the day in football, and I think the best entertainment would be if the Bucs get in for sure. But the next game I want to talk about was the Seahawks and 49ers on Saturday night, and the winner of this game gets the 1 seed. One little thing I have to get out of the way. The 49ers, if you guys haven't seen their uniforms that they're going to wear on Friday night or Saturday night, they're awesome. I know it's a little thing. I like uniforms and stuff like that, but I can't wait to see those. But, you know, I think this is a story about the quarterbacks, really. Brock Purdy's been playing very well, and Sam Darnold just hasn't. I mean, Sam Darnold started off the year very, very well, but now he leads the league in turnovers. He has 17 interceptions. Like, that's... Old Sam Darnold might be back a little bit, but I mean he's still like he's got so much talent. I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was in the Jets because he's got good coaches and a good team. But I don't trust him at all. I mean Seattle's defense is kind of the reason why they're so good, and you know it would be. I know Purdy already beat him in the beginning of the year. Yes, it's week 1 where things are kind of crazy. You kind of got to take week 1 as like an extension of preseason. And take it with a grain of salt a little bit, but I got San Francisco. I think they just have so much momentum right now. I think that what's crazy too. If they get the 1 seed, they could not play a away game, even in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is at Santa Clara where they play. If they somehow make it to the Super Bowl, which would be crazy with their injuries they have, but. I know I talked about this last week. It's still crazy that the 49ers are in this position where they can get the 1 seed with all the injuries, all the drama and stuff like that. Like every week there's a key player going down. Last week it's Trent Williams, which you probably won't. I'm assuming he won't play this week, which is a huge loss, especially against the Seattle defense. But I think that if Sam Darnold Sam Darnold could keep him in the game. I know it's just trash on him, but he could keep him in the game because the San Francisco defense right now is just so bad and so injured. I think that Seattle can run the ball. They just have a lot of weapons on offense with Shaheed and JSN, obviously, and the running backs, and the Barner, the tight end, is a big force. He's good. But I think that, if Seattle wins this game, it'll be about the defense, I think. Unless Sam Darnold does some crazy stuff like he did in the second half against the Rams, or the fourth quarter, really, against the Rams. But, I think I want to pick the 49ers to win. I think they'll win just because I think Brock Purdy right now and Kyle Shanahan are such a heater right now. I think that they have a lot of momentum. It'd be nice to see them as a 1 seed just because the story and Robert Saleh being back as coordinator. Their defense isn't the best, but what Saleh has been doing with these guys that are practice squad guys has been pretty impressive. But I'm kind of interested in how Christian McCaffrey. I know he's going to play. He wasn't even on the injury report, I don't think, or stuff like that. But last game he seemed like his back was hurting him, bothering him, and he's got such a big workload this year. And I know Kittle's playing, which is a great ad. I mean, he's playing the best ball of his career right now. He just gets injured way too much. But I probably pick Seattle to the 49ers to win this game. But Seattle, I feel like just having such a good year that it might be just their year. Like, it's pretty crazy that both these teams might get the 1 seed, especially at the beginning of the year. We thought the Rams were going to just run away with the NFC, and they just haven't. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy it's a Saturday night game. I love the Saturday night games when college football playoffs start. NFL slides to Saturday. I really like the Saturday games. Just more football you can watch, but that'll be fun. That'll be a fun game, especially San Francisco is going to be popping. The stadium's great. It's going to be loud. It's going to be fun. And the next game I want to talk about is the Steelers and Ravens. I wish this game wasn't the Sunday night game, but it's gonna be a lot of people are gonna watch this because it's Steelers and Ravens. But Lamar is supposed to be back, which is good. Right now he's not playing 100%, obviously, so maybe Huntley helps them more because Lamar's not even running at all, really, and when he's been playing this year. But I think the Ravens should win this game. That's exactly why I'm going to pick the Steelers to win this game because they always find a way to the playoffs, even though I don't. I think they're kind of. If I was a Steelers fans, I probably wouldn't love Tomlin anymore just because they do the same thing every year. They barely get in the playoffs, then they get killed the first round. But their defense is starting to play a little bit better. Same as the Ravens, though. Like, I think both teams are very similar. They got both got quarterbacks that are really good that are not healthy. Rodgers at the back nine, so who knows how good he is when healthy. But both quarterbacks are not healthy. Both coaches are, they're going to get blamed if one of those teams loses. They both could get either traded or fired. I wouldn't be surprised either. I also wouldn't be surprised if they brought him back because that's how they both organizations kind of run their teams. But I think it'll probably be your typical low-scoring Steelers-Ravens game just because they know each other so well. They just stop each other. I probably, like I just said, I think the Steelers are going to win. I think Rodgers might have it like a little moment. I think a good moment where, he brings in the playoffs after going up and down all year injured. I think Tomlin with his back on the wall, I feel like always kind of wins a game, But I don't know if TJ Watt's going to play. I doubt he plays. A lung injury. It's not like a real injury. I heard that you have to be medically. Obviously, you always have to be medically cleared, but since this is like a medical issue, it's like a whole nother thing to get cleared. Where he can't be 95% healthy. He has to be 100% healthy. So it'll be interesting to see. I doubt he plays, but I think the defense. I like Ravens. Offensive line. I love Derrick Henry. It'll be interesting to see how the Steelers' defensive line can slow them down because I think their defensive line has been up and down all year. They're notorious for having a good defensive line and always being, especially with Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt and Highsmith. But their secondary is just, I feel like, very hit or miss, just as much as the defensive line is. For the Steelers, but you can say the same thing about the Ravens too. The Ravens. They have all these guys. Kyle Hamilton's always hurt. Roquan Smith, he's still good, but they got Matabuka's been done for the year. Kyle Van Noy is, he's good. He's not as good as last year, and he's not as good as he has been. Nate Higgins is good, but he's beatable. But like I said earlier, I think this is just the Steelers spot right here. I think that this has them written all over them. And then so I got the Steelers, 49ers, and Bucs. And a lot of my picks this year haven't been very good, as if you've been watching. So I wouldn't bet what I'm betting, but yeah, I mean I'm excited. I'm excited that it's week 18. It's fun. You kind of sit back and relax and just watch other teams play. As a Patriots fan, excited for the playoffs to start. I feel like the season has gone by so fast this year, super super fast. Maybe because, like I said, I'm a Patriots fan, so maybe they're good this year. But last couple of years, it's just been so bad, so slow. I feel like, but yeah, I'm excited for the playoffs. A couple more storylines I want to talk about before we end it was Patriots players I was talking about last week. Stephon Diggs, he got in trouble, and now Christian Barmore got in trouble. Two very key players for the Patriots. All signs say they're playing this weekend. It'd be interesting to see what happens going forward. Patriots need both guys for the playoffs if they're going to want to do anything. You saw Vrabel last week. His first question was asked, are you disappointed in your players for their actions? And he said, well, I'm not disappointed. These are just all allegations. And I thought that was kind of, mind-numbing. He said that because, being used to Belichick, probably would never answer that question. Like my whole life, Belichick was the coach of the team until the last 2 years. And, he was just such a prick to the media. He probably just wanted to answer that question and stuff like that. And, but yeah, Steph Diggs has been practicing. Barmore has missed one day of practice with illness, quote unquote illness. But he's back at practice. I can't believe they're going to play. I can't believe they're not on the commissioner's list yet. Usually when you go on the commissioner's list, when they get evidence, they see that, maybe you did this. So there must not be enough evidence right now or something like that. I don't want to talk too much about that and be wrong about it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy that they're playing. I don't think it's a good look for the league, really. I don't think it's a good look for the Patriots. As a Patriots fan, I don't think it's a good look for us. In Vrabel, really. But, Vrabel prides himself on always have the players back, and he clearly does right now. And, it'll be interesting to see how these cases develop and see what happens. It's kind of weird that these things, like Barmore thing, happened August 4th, but it's coming up right now. And I guess the Diggs thing happened December 2nd, but it's coming up right now. Kind of weird and interesting, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with them. And also I want to talk about, Josh Allen not playing this week, maybe. They're playing the Jets, and if they lose, they're the 7 seed, and if they win, they're the 6 or 5 seed, depending on what happens above them with Houston. But I think that, like I said last podcast, they're or 2 podcasts ago, they're I still think they're very good. A lot of people think I'm giving too much credit to them right now, but Josh Allen is just superhuman. I mean, last game was, look at the weather. Like, I don't think a lot of quarterbacks would have played good in that weather. But I don't know. I think that if they go in as a 7 seed, that would be pretty crazy. If a team with Josh Allen as a 7 seed, it's not like Eli Manning when he was a wild card team and when they won the Super Bowl. It's Josh Allen. And I know a lot of people are picking against them, and especially after last week and stuff like that. But I think that they're super dangerous. They might be the team to beat. I know Denver and Buffalo, Denver and the Patriots and Jacksonville are, but they've been in the AFC Championship, or if not very far in the playoffs every year. They're if the Chiefs run around, who knows if they would have won a couple Super Bowls, if not one already. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this week. I'm excited to see what happens to the playoff format, and also in the draft. What we'll know the first couple picks of the draft on Sunday by the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I hope everybody enjoyed their New Year's and enjoyed good football. I'm excited for more football this weekend, and also tonight, if you guys got time and year round, you might as well just turn on Peacock and watch Nebraska versus Michigan State. I live here in Nebraska, so that's one of the biggest games Nebraska basketball has ever played. They don't really play big basketball games. They're not very very good usually, and this year they're just very good. But yeah, it should be a great game, and you can see how crazy Nebraska fans are, especially at that arena in Lincoln. But yeah, everybody have a great weekend and enjoy some good football.